What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Alex Cuesta Show. How's everybody out there on this Thursday, March 2nd of 2023? Before we get into the fun stuff, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars on Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth. Find us on the socials at the Alex Cuesta Show. Now, for anyone listening, we are not doing Thursday night recordings. I'm sorry. I know it's 2 weeks in a row. This time it was because David was faking an illness yesterday.
Yeah, okay.
He just, decided that he had to lift something at work. So, hi, Dave. How are you?
Hi, I'm watching the cat do weird things. She always scares me when she goes by my wires. I'm afraid I'm just going to drop from one of these recordings.
You think she's a squirrel? Squirrels eat wires and stuff like that.
Not that she'll eat wires, but that she'll just accidentally pull something out or just hit because I have it connected to a little power bar. So if she hits that button, I'm gone.
That would be an improvement, though.
That's true. That's very true.
So anyway, I'm happy to have everybody here that's listening. Please go listen to last week's show. We had a great show. We had our good buddy Hack No Cap. He's been on, a bunch of times with us. He has new music coming out. So please be on the lookout for that. He has his 2 songs out, The End, and I always forget the name of the other one. Trying. That's it. That's why you're here. I am a fan. Shut up, Dave. So he has The End. He has Trying Out. He has some new projects coming out. One is going to be a little more rock. The other one pure rap. So go out there. Go follow his TikTok as well. Even though China's evil, he's on TikTok. Anyway, this week we have an awesome guest coming on. I think I say that every week, but I mean it every week because this week is someone that Dave and I, we've seen on when we watch the, Timcast IRL. If you watch Timcast IRL, you will know who he is. He is Shane Cashman. He is the author of the books Joyless Kingdom, The Fucking Lunatic, and Tales from the Inverted World. He has Tales of the Inverted World Volume 2 coming out, and he's also a writer for Timcast News. What's going on, Shane?
I'm chilling, man. Thank you guys for having me on.
Yeah, we're super excited. So first, I want to jump right into it. Tales of the Inverted World Volume 2 coming out. What can we expect to be in there?
So this is the book version of what we serialized about maybe half a year ago. So it's a deeper look into what I went into traveling to Washington, Georgia. I heard from a guy, someone emailed Tim, probably after my first appearance on IRL, which is in October of 2021, I guess. Mm-hmm. And he was like, there's some lost Confederate gold in my town and maybe some ghosts. And Tim was like, what do you think? I was like, yes, let's go. I thought it was just going to be one article. From what I saw in the email, there was maybe some cool stories there, interesting history. I'm a big Civil War nerd, and I went down there, and within an hour, I was actually within the first night. So within 5 hours, I met a woman who was who said she was possessed by a demon.
Oh, so you met a liberal.
Strange. Yeah.
A woke liberal. That's what it was.
Purple hair. It was libs of TikTok. She just jumped right out of the TikTok and was in my world now. And I saw this weird thing in the sky. So I remember that night thinking, I was texting Tim, I think there's more than an article here. And I was like, maybe it's a 3-part story. And then it turned into me going down there for, every few weeks for maybe half a year, looking for this gold, talking to these people who've had these weird ghost experiences, these people who consider themselves witches, but also Catholics, and some are Christians. It's a very bizarre little sad town in Georgia, but it's where the Confederacy was actually dissolved by Jefferson Davis, and that's why they think the Confederate gold was there. So yeah, it's me and my wacky stories in this town of Washington.
That's really cool stuff. Now, it's funny, you talked about ghosts, because David was supposed to become a ghost hunter. I don't know where that's going.
Whoa. It's a lot of money, and I have to travel.
But it's my day job that I do outside of this is I teach people how to drive. And one of my students, all into ghost hunting, showed me clips of talking to ghosts and things like that. So I mentioned it to him over there, and it's right near where he is in Virginia. So he's like, I'm going to go do that. So that might be something. Go get yourself a spirit box. I don't know if you have one yet, but apparently ghosts do talk through that. So
yeah, I actually met a guy who he believed he saved some spirits from a demon in the basement of a church in a town outside of Washington, Georgia. And he was a very sweet man. Just a very gentle Georgia type fella. And I asked him at one point, how do you think you have this ability? I'm skeptical of all these people. I'm like, how do you, what makes you think? Cause he's showing me recordings of ghosts talking. I'm just like, I think it's your voice, dude.
Yeah.
But I feel bad telling him that, but it's true. Yeah. And he's like, well, I'm the product of incest. And that was his answer as to why he has the ability to talk to ghosts. But, the guy did say some crazy stuff to me. Nothing that I could prove, but it was interesting spending a whole day with him and watching him talk to ghosts. I basically just heard him talking to himself. But he did tell me this one doll was haunted. And I didn't forget it because this doll was just weird. It was one of those creepy porcelain dolls that like a traveling salesman.
All haunted.
They are all haunted. So I took note of it. I was like, I don't trust that doll either, dude. And then I remember talking to one of those witches months later, and she had no idea about this man. And she told me a story about that exact doll leaping off the chair when she was in like grade school on a field trip to the house I was in with this guy. So I was like, all right, maybe there's something there, or maybe these people are all just fucked up. But it's a fun book. I'm happy with this book. So like Inverted World book 1 was different essays, me doing different things, thinking about different topics. This book is just one long narrative in this town, talking about different ideas and concepts, from ghosts to the gold to the Civil War stuff, UFO things, and my favorite topic, the apocalypse.
So there seems like a lot of value, right, to working over at Timcast as opposed to a lot of other places, because it seems like Tim gives you, and it seems like a lot of the other writers, a real big latitude to just kind of you want to go write about it, go write about it. Just make it good. Like, make it something that people want to read. Is that something that you found as like you're going there, that if you bring something to Tim just like, make it interesting, dude?
Yeah. I mean, for the most part, recently I've kind of lit a little fire on you.
We'll talk to that. We'll talk about that.
But even that still is like, I've pretty much can fight for any story. And even as weird as it gets, I'm able to just, as long as he sees that you're passionate about it, he might not even agree with it. Like the Ye thing, he wasn't even a Ye fan. He didn't know Ye like a lot of other people do who might have been listening to him for forever. So he was not interested in the story of his, but he saw that I was really interested in the story. He'd already seen me write a book already, and he saw that I had this fire for the story. So, even though he's not fully into it himself, he's into the story once it's out. He's like, okay, I let this person go chase down something and I made with it what I did. So I keep saying I can write stories here that I couldn't write anywhere else, unless it was my own thing on Substack, So it's incredible that he'll just be like, he'll run things by me. The Carrie Lake thing was something he had proposed when we happened to be in Phoenix together, and it just so happened to coincide with her trial. And I like Carrie Lake. I was interested in the trial, hadn't really thought of it, but he was like, I'll set you up tomorrow. And I was like, all right, let's do it. So he's got great contacts. So he tells you to do something, and I'm like, I'll make it interesting, because Arizona is interesting. Phoenix is very interesting to me. Obviously Carrie Lake is interesting, and he hooked it up. So it's incredible to have that freedom.
I would also say that shows that he trusts you to make a good story out of that, especially.
Yeah. He saw, I think obviously he enjoyed the Inverted World book. We made something really cool out of that, because when he hired me, I was supposed to just write an article a week for Inverted World. It wasn't going to be a book, none of that. We had flirted with the idea of a book, but it was just like maybe a pipe dream. I definitely wanted to. I'd already written a book by that point when I met him. But after 6 months of doing the weekly stuff, I was like, all right, dude, these articles are stupid long. Clearly, everything I write is very long. I have a problem with that. And I was like, I think I have a book. And it was probably early December. And he said, do you want to have it done by Christmas? I said, I will definitely have it done by Christmas. So I had 2 weeks to pretty much format the book, get the manuscript ready, get the cover ready with our illustrator, Jessica, who illustrates the Inverted World series on timcast.com.
Yep.
And we put it out. So I think once he saw that, we could just make books, and the book is a little different than what we were doing on the website, and it has artwork and all this stuff. Then it was like, all right, well, what else can we do? What can we just keep getting crazier and crazier? And then opportunities just kept arriving, like the Ye thing, the Carrie Lake thing. And he was just like, whether people like him or not, there's a reaction to him. And that's always fun. I appreciate that. It means people are reading it or not reading it and talking shit. And I'll take all of it.
Which helps because that gets people to want to read it when they talk shit because they want to see if it's the people that don't read things and talk about it are actually like the best promoters for anyone writing something because they want to see what it is. So I want to jump into, the big controversy, right? Eliza Bleu.
Yeah.
Eliza Bleu, on Timcast twice. She then starts getting called out not too long after she appears on the show where she's talking about Andrew Tate. Now, I have to say, I watched that episode. I don't have a problem with Eliza Bleu. Now maybe if all the things have come out that are against her, I might have a little more of a problem. But at the time, I was kind of like, cool, she's fighting for a good cause. I wasn't a fan of the way she reacted to a lot of the Andrew Tate things. And I was just kind of like, maybe she's just really, I don't know. Like I wasn't a huge fan of the way she kept deflecting. Then all that stuff comes out. And I thought the reaction of the crowd to just go after Tim. And, at that point he had released, he's like, Shane's on his way out there. Then all of a sudden they start piling on you. Yeah. And I don't know. I said to Dave, I'm going to defend Tim Pool. I'm going to defend Timcast for a second here. Anyone on the right that is looking for a super conservative show, if you're going to Tim Pool with freaking Ian Crosland on the show, like you're not getting that. Tim is not on the right. Tim is red-pilled because the left has become a bunch of lunatics, but he's not a mega conservative. So if you're going over there for mega conservative values to do all that type of stuff, you're not going to get that. So for people to demand that type of stuff from Tim, I thought was ridiculous to begin with. But then you're going out there and people are getting on you. What was that like? Outside, I want to talk a little bit more about the interview and what happened there. But was it kind of surreal that it's like, I wanted to go out and do a journalistic piece, not much different than what I wanted to do with Ye and Kerry Lake. Now I'm getting all this shit. Well, like, what was that backlash like?
Let's go back to the IRL episode. Yeah. Because I just oddly God is hilarious and put me in that episode.
Yes.
So and her and I had interacted previously through Twitter and then through the message I talked about in the story in part 1 with Ye. And so I'm going there just to meet her and then we talk and then I'm like, I'll do the show. Tim's like, come up. And then she does the Tate thing. And I'm like I say in part 1 of that series, I was just talking to Tate with Tim. So it was just humorous to me because I wasn't going to tell anybody that now I'm just the other day talking to Tate the day before his arrest. And now this lady who I also talked about writing a profile on is about to read statements from supposed victims of Tate. And I'm just like, what are the odds of all of this in this ridiculous life? And then the episode was funny because people like to call out her complimenting me, which is nice. I'll take any I love compliments. It was awesome.
Who doesn't?
Right. So, and she's right. I am a good writer. So I was like, yeah, no, that's dope. That's dope. But no one talks about the rest of the episode where we're all kind of like, yo, we need transparency. I tell her like, and I like Eliza, like I told her in the episode, Me Too destroyed the accusation market.
Yes.
Right. And so you coming out and telling us these statements, although they pain me to hear anything like it, I need more. And
if I remember, Shane, she got pretty defensive, as you were saying it, Tim was saying it, Ian was saying it, where it's like, we want to believe you. If this is true, this is terrible. Yeah. But you're giving us nothing. All you're saying is wait and see. And that's tough to do, especially on a show that you're trying to do IRL as part of entertainment. And she's kind of just stonewalling you guys while making these accusations.
Yeah, it was really frustrating because I thought we could have had a way bigger discussion with her. About Twitter, Elon, and anything else in the news. But we kind of circled around the idea of accusations. And also, it might have been a little too quick on her part to read those accusations because we couldn't then talk about the legal stuff, the case, whatever it was. So
the validity of anything.
Right. So we just focused on accusations. So it was just, so then skipping ahead, that was all in my mind because we were just not that long before I went out to Illinois. Like she literally was asking me, how do we change people's perspectives on accusations? And I was like, transparency. And now here I am in Illinois looking at her in her face and, trying to have it was a complicated conversation for me to have because I was asking questions I rather not ask anybody, because, it turned from what could have been an interview into what I thought was like an interrogation. But, it's not enough for a lot of people. But anyway, every time we get to a difficult part of the interview, I'm not getting the transparency, which is what I was telling her on the show, weeks before. Mm-hmm. She's got her reasons for that. I can't go beyond it. Like I wish I could, there's only so much prying you can do. But to go back to your question, I was in the air after like a 6-hour layover in Chicago. Pretty low key day. I kept telling everybody, just don't tell anybody I'm going out here. Like, because if you remember, like at that specific time, she was just like getting burned at the stake.
Yep.
So
and Jeremy at the quartering was going nuts. She had gotten Brittany Venti kicked off, and then Chrissy Mayer. Like everyone was just piling on.
Everyone was on fire. They were going after Tim for not saying anything. And I don't think I told Tim explicitly, which maybe was my problem for not telling him explicitly. But I was just like, he might have actually, come to think of it, I think we might have talked briefly about him saying something, but he never did. And then he did when I was in the air on my last leg of the trip to Illinois. So when I landed, my phone was like, and I was like, oh no. So they know. And then, I can't help it. It's the way I write. I throw myself into all my stories, whether people like it or not. Mm-hmm. So, for me, it's like, it's really bad on one hand, because I'd rather just not write under that kind of pressure, because now all the people in the YouTube world and Twitter world, they're like, who's this schmuck, right? Mm-hmm. No, they didn't really care about Ye or Carrie Lake that much, but now they care about. So it made no sense to me that I could be with the man who told people he loved Hitler and the Jews on InfoWars, and no one gave a shit about that. I mean, it was mostly positive reviews, but I could be with Eliza, who may or may not have lied about things, really serious things, but that was the controversy. Mm-hmm. To me, it was just insane. But yeah, I got there, and then I was just like, all right, well, now I'm really in the story. And it was just, I think by the time her and I actually sat down at that truck stop where she took that picture, which was probably a bad move. But at that point, I was like, all right, Tim said it, fuck it. Let's do it. I at that point, after it was probably an hour ride, 30-minute ride or something from the airport to that truck stop. And I'm just feeling Twitter. Like, I'm not even looking at it, but I can just, it's like a forest fire.
Turning off notifications.
And I have this problem where I'm like, the worse it gets, I kind of want to see like, how much worse can I make it? I had told people, except for Tim explicitly, like, don't say I'm going out here. But then once it was out there and Tim had said it, I was like, well, let's see how this goes. Cause I was interested. I underestimated how crazy it was going to get, but yeah, we put up the picture, and then we spent like hours at that truck stop interviewing, and that was the beginning of it. But it was quite interesting to me to write in that kind of like condition where people who don't know you at all, not that they should, are now like digging through everything you've ever done, taking really weird clips of you getting complimented from Eliza, or looking at old tweets between us, which were, just nice tweets. Like, okay, there's a lot of people who've been on IRL who said very nice things about me. And, if I go write about them, I guess you're going to go find those tweets too. But it was just bizarre to experience it. And to me, Eliza's story is interesting, whether people believe it or not. That whole situation is an interesting story. Whether, like I said in the story, I'm going to expose some psychotic, elaborate lie that this woman has made up for like a decade, or I'm making her relive some ridiculous, horrible trauma I wouldn't want to make anyone relive. That's interesting. But then it's beyond Eliza in my mind. It's about how Twitter and the internet and social media works, and people demanding you say certain things or cover things the way you want. And, I hate journalism also. Like, I don't really consider myself to be like the journalist that I wish people wished I was, I keep thinking of Taibbi or Whitney Webb. Like, those are like a real journalist like of today that are very rare. And I write weird stories about interesting people who I just happen to be blessed with being in these opportunities. As controversial as they might be, I feel very blessed to be in the situation because it's challenging for me. But I just talk to people and I get their stories and I share my point of view, whether people like it or not. But yeah, it's just so bizarre that story was the problem. And Ye Carrie Lake had a bit of a problem. Like people really don't like Carrie.
Yeah.
And so
some people hate
you know,
her.
and I get it because they see her as like, woman Trump, she's fighting the elections. In my mind, she's very counterculture because she's challenging all the institutions that most of us despise. So when she tagged me on something on Twitter, I was like, oh, wow, this is how it feels like to get inundated with hate, by real and fake people. But that pales in comparison to the last month, I guess.
Who'd have thought Kanye would be the least commotion you would get?
Dude, unbelievable. I honestly can't believe it, but it is what it is.
So what's interesting? So go ahead, Dave.
I was going to say, I do find like the Eliza Bleu situation did really blow up, like out of proportion, and for multiple reasons. Like you said, you were down there either uncovering this huge lie or making her relive something. And while that situation's going on, and also because I know a lot of people were really more fighting it on like a censorship side, what they believe, whether they believe it or not, Venti getting kicked off and other people getting suspended for just sharing these pictures that were on YouTube. It was a public thing. So it had both of these things, and, they either came together. And, if people are creating content, I mean, I'm going to point out Chrissy Mayer because I think she's fine. I like her, but I'm not saying anything bad about her. But you take that situation, that's one of your friends that gets taken off Twitter. And of course you're going to make jokes, and of course you're going to make content about it. It was just a really interesting thing to watch blow up.
That whole part was fascinating. I mean, that's what was, the kind of apex of part 2 that went into part 3 before shit really hit the fan. On my end. But I knew it was coming because I was just getting so frustrated with people talking like that, whether it was Chrissy or whoever, but shout out to Chrissy. She took some of my words and made a shirt out of them, and they're selling shirts with my phrase. And I'm like, that's dope. Do it. That is dope. It's a good phrase. So I was just not into how people reacted, but the censorship aside, the censorship is a problem. And with Eliza, when I brought it up to her, and I think it was part 2, she was like, well, I said it was a public video, just like you said. It was a public video. People shared it. And she goes, well, it's not public anymore. I'm like, but it was public when they shared it. And she's like, but it's not anymore. I'm like, yeah, but like, so it's like the circular thing, like kind of like it was IRL, but that's the problem.
I have to ask, has your opinion of Eliza changed since you first met her, since you heard of her things, and since everything has kind of come out about her? Some fair, I think, some not fair, and all this stuff. You went in at an in-depth conversation with her. I know a lot of people, you have a better look at her than a lot of us do. We're all looking at it from the outside looking in. It's definitely, I think, cast some doubt on a lot of the things that she has said. Has your opinion of her changed, or are you still, where are you with Eliza?
I don't think my opinion's changed. Like, I feel how I felt when I left. I remember talking to my wife about it because I'd be like, I think because Eliza has turned on a lot of people from friends, and I remember thinking, with my wife, like, she could very well turn on me because, like I say in the story, she could hate this story, right? And I don't know if she loved it or not. I remember she was liking it, whatever. There's parts she liked, parts she didn't like, and she was tweeting about it. But I remember saying, like, even if she turns on me, I'm very confident in this story. And what she told me, I can't verify everything yet. If I had a year and I was going to do that kind of story, there's things I would definitely go do. She told me a name, which I didn't think I was ever going to get anything like that. So like, I have a name. She was opening up. I think it just happened at like the worst time for both of us, which is why I hated writing under that kind of circumstances. As interesting as it was for the story, I think it would have been easier for us to have this conversation because it was all on the defense, right? Everything I was asking was on the offense. So I don't think my opinion has changed. I think she's had a shitty life. I can't prove all her stories. I can look at a lot of things that she's given me, things that her parents have given me, things that you can go online and look at. We've all can see. I can look at the places she's worked at, hit them up. I can look at the court records. I can look at police records. I can look at housing records, which are, there's people will debate that. Be like, well, some say it's 1998, some say it's 1997. Her parents will say, well, they were on the list in the beginning, and then this and that. So it's like everything just starts canceling each other out. Everything cancels itself out. She either has all these gaps in her story because drugs and abuse, like violent abuse, or it's a lie, and And I don't know. I feel like she's telling me mostly the truth, honestly, but I feel like there's just so many either with if it's legal stuff where she's like, I can't talk about it legally, or there's stuff because she just can't remember. But she's been very forthcoming with me. People will look at things online and then use those as proof that she's absolutely lying. But then I'll go and look at the things I just listed for you guys, and those things don't add up. So it's like, it doesn't mean she's right. It doesn't mean they're right. It just means that, well, they're both dead to me now because they cancel each other out.
Yeah.
So, I just don't know. I never try to write a story for a subject that's a hit piece. I think people really wanted that of me. There's definitely people who get in my target, and I'll take them out, and they might not like it, and they can take me out. That's the nature of the game. But when it comes to subjects, I just let them kind of talk. And I ask them the questions I can ask. And I don't know. What would be very interesting for me is to see what happens with the case number she showed me in the story, when I'm asking her about the censorship stuff, and she says, well, my legal team has this case, and whatever's in that case, she says was proof enough for those platforms to take off that one video. Again, I don't know what that is. I couldn't see it. I kept asking the legal team. They never got back to me in time. So, that will be very interesting to me, because it's not like all the other videos she's a part of are down. It's just that one. Yeah. Her story was that there was something nefarious to it. I wish I could tell you what that was. I don't know. I do know that case number. I do know her legal team does it. Other people have told me it's very easy to have that kind of situation and then take down something. But then I'll be like, well, why not all the videos? Why that?
Yeah, this is. So it's interesting. You say like you're not like a journalist, but then when I hear you talk, you're going through things like a real journalist. Like, this is, if I had the time, this
Don't
is
you
the
dare
depth
call me
that I
that.
would go. No, I'm not going to call you a leftist journalist. You're not a leftist journalist. There's a difference.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, but that's just natural, like looking through things, right?
Curiosity, right?
Well,
like
that's
wanting
curiosity.
to find things out.
There is that aspect of the story where it's like, I'm Scooby-Doo from fucking Inverted World, right? People are ragging on me for like, this is the guy who writes about aliens and ghosts. Like, yeah, no shit. I always talk about things that are real and fake. I'm always mentioning what's behind the curtain, because reality is a fabrication, man. So don't make me get all hippie on you right now, but nothing's real. So, this is kind of like my wheelhouse, where it's like, I'm not the investigative journalist that I wish I could be for people, but I'm constantly questioning the nature of reality. And it just so happened to be with Eliza, and it's not enough for people who truly hate her. But I put out stuff that people can then take, and then they can do their own thing, and they're doing it. So, and I think that's a beautiful thing. They should do that.
Yeah. There's a lot that, and I don't think it's over. It's definitely quieted down, but I don't think it's over. I think, once you say that case comes out, and we'll see how that goes. And who knows, maybe you'll be flying back out there. But this is Tim's going to poo-poo that one. Tim's going to be like, no, Shane, no, not again.
If I fight for that one, oh my God. No, I mean, look, this story will never not leave my brain, and for every reason. It's still very important to me. I still very confident in that story. I wish we kind of handled that whole situation better. I was not like in that room when they decided to take the story down. The fire was hot. It was rough. I mean, I didn't help. I told everyone it's about to get crazy. I'm sorry, but this is what I say. Like, no one got mad. I kept telling everyone, like at work or friends, I was like, no one got mad when I ragged on that NBC guy. I pretty much gave him the same treatment I gave all the YouTubers that were pissing me off, many of which I do like from time to time. But like, I don't like heinous behavior. I understand the questions though. People are like, oh, he doesn't like criticism. I'm like, it's not the criticism, homie. It's the way people are behaving. It's like a certain type of maliciousness that I don't like. The questions you have are the same ones I have, and most of the ones I ask. So it's not about criticism. It's about intimidation. It's about harassment. It's about maliciousness, which I don't mind, because I personally believe in free speech. I'm an absolutist. You can say the worst shit. I'm not getting rid of it. You go look at my Twitter. I keep all that shit. It's like a scrapbook. I love it. Me and my wife sit back and we laugh. They're making memes of my face. Shit is hilarious.
Good. If you're getting memed, that means you made it. If you're getting memed, then you've made it. And I'll throw this out there. for anyone that's still criticizing Shane, he's a DM away. It was real simple, Instagram quickly and very, let's get this done. So any of the YouTubers that are still, I'm pretty sure you're willing to go on their show and answer what they want to answer, because you've been really forthcoming here about how you thought and the process.
I love talking about it. And
I want to roll into this because I think you have experienced the good and the bad that the internet can do, right? Pros of the internet, you can put a lot of your work out. We could do things like this. Timcast IRL can exist and Timcast News can exist. Cons, there's a lot of dickheads and a lot of people that are just trying to stir shit up and not tell the truth. What is it that you have seen in your experience? Because you have, more experience than I do there. What are your pros and cons of the internet right now?
All right, pros, definitely that we can connect like this. I mean, this is amazing. And we can,
really is.
Thanks to the internet, we were able to pretty much deconstruct the COVID narrative immediately. The second that shit rolled out, a lot of us were like, nah, not so much, So, it's really good for that. It's kind of deconstructed everything, but that's also the con, right? The con is that we've also watered down information where, people right now at this moment, I was just on Twitter before we started recording, and people are sharing a new meme of Tim, and it's not him. It's like they photoshopped him to be this like obese man who's older, but they literally think it's him. There are people be like, man, he gained a lot of weight in 4 months or something. I'm like, yo, I'm not gonna get involved and be like, no, but they are literally watch. So it's the con. One of the cons is that it's so easy for people to believe things. So it's like a lot of those people already don't like Tim, so they see that it's a confirmation bias. So it's like this whole confirmation bias playground out there where people, the second you hate something, which can tie back to the Eliza story when I started getting really mad at people because the questions are one thing, criticism is one thing. It's great. We should all do that. But then when you start sharing obviously fake things, then you're just sharing confirmation bias because you hate this person. They did it to Trump. They do it to Carrie Lake. They do it to Ye. They do it to me. Once you have someone in your mind as a boogeyman caricature, you will, anything you see that goes with your narrative, you will use. So for Eliza, it was Elon Musk unfollowed her. And you could look that up. That's not true, right? But people use that as a thing. You go back to Trump, good people on both sides, where everything, Covington, Jussie Smollett, all these things. So the internet exaggerates that, and it's really bad. But then it's like, this kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier about everything canceling each other out, because it's also really good that happens because, back when I used to teach writing classes at college, I would talk about this idea of you got to build your immune system of your ideas, right? So it's kind of amazing if you can withstand the pressure of the internet and you can take all this heat, which is really tough. Like it's tough. Yes. Like just because I'm joking about it doesn't mean some days are just like, damn, but I typically tend to like it because I'm hearing things that are coming from vile, disgusting, but sometimes genuine people. And I take that and I'm like, all right, what can I make better? What is actually going to make me question the way I do things or the way I see the world? And that's how you build your immune system, because of your thoughts and your beliefs. Because if you don't have an immune system for those things, you will then you can meet anything that could easily destroy your whole worldview, right? So the internet is just constantly good and bad, and we're just going to have to deal with it. But like, I don't think we realize just how gnarly it's going to get with like AI porn.
It's going to be, AI in general is going to fuck a lot up. It's bad, especially when it becomes AIG and it decides that we suck as a race. And now we have and I have a policy now that I've been doing since I, started doing podcasting and really interviewing people. I kind of think everyone's full of shit unless I've actually talked to them. That's really where I am on a lot of things, especially on the political sphere now. Like, I can sit down and talk to you, and don't get me wrong, I like your work, but I'm talking to you now. And now, because we're face to face, we're having a good conversation. When I read your stuff a little more, I'm going to be like, even whether I agree with it or not, I at least can know the person you are. I've at least looked at you. And then there's people that I've admired, and I'm just like, yeah, but I don't know if this is an act. I've never actually talked to that person. So it's like, that's kind of where my basis is on the internet now. And I also believe absolutely nothing that I see on the internet. Like, I don't believe a single thing unless I can go and read like a bunch of other articles, legit stuff.
That's
so
what we
kind
have
of where
to,
I am.
No, that's and it's good. It's a good and also unhealthy place to be. But like, you know, as I'm raising 2 young kids, I have to teach them to lead with that skepticism, which is unfortunate. But with the internet, you know, you kind of have to reject the old idea of opening up even a book or an encyclopedia and being like, this is the one truth.
Yeah.
Because that's dead.
The science.
Right. It was probably never true, you know, like, I mean, obviously certain things are, but you know, the internet has made it so you can't trust anything. I remember my grandma, when she was still around, she would send me spam emails that were so blatantly false.
Yeah.
She like, it was one of Trayvon Martin back when like that whole thing happened.
Yeah.
And it was a picture of The Game, the rapper. And she thought that was Trayvon.
No.
And I was like, Grandma.
That's such a racist spam email. Stop. They don't all look the same.
Please, Grandma. She had no idea. She was like,
no idea.
The email said, this is Trayvon. He had a hoodie on. I'm like, all right, so now I remember having to sit her down multiple times.
This is how we do.
And talk about
Part of
like,
my pun.
Grandma, you can't. Yeah, nice. You cannot trust the internet. And I mean, she ended up living with me, and we don't own a TV. My wife and I have never owned a TV. I hate TV. You know, we'll watch stuff on our phones every now and then, but I just don't like them as a centerpiece in a house. They take away from family time. But when my grandma lived with me, in her in her bedroom, she had a TV, and she was deaf, and she would just be blasting NBC like so loud, and she was so deaf, so I could hear it like outside, you know, in my car. We'd have these debates. Like I remember watching January 6th happen with her on her TV, and you know, it was like we were watching 2 completely different universes at the same time. You know, she saw violent animals and chaos, and yeah, sure, some of it was crazy, I guess, but I wasn't seeing what she was seeing, and she wasn't seeing what I was seeing. So the TV was like the first internet, you know, where it was kind of condensed. And now we're just the phones and all the streaming platforms. I love it because I can time travel. I can go and watch Pantera play Russia 30 years ago, you know, and that is amazing. I can go watch Soul Train, you know, from like the early 90s, late 80s, and want to dance. I can show my kids all these different artists who are dead now and talk about different types of art. We can look up any book, and it's amazing. But you just have to navigate all the wrong things that could, you know, manipulate the way you see reality and really rot out your brain, because it's a drug. But it can be a very good one and a very bad one. You just got to limit yourself and how much time you spend on it. But yeah, that's something we think about all the time, just because, you know, our kids are 6.5, almost 7, I guess, and almost 3. And, you know, he doesn't have a phone. Sometimes he'll use ours just to watch some things that we like have vetted, you know, to make sure it's cool.
No YouTube with the Momo thing that went around years ago. I will not let either of my daughters go on YouTube, because that freaking creepy ass thing that was telling kids to slit their wrist or attack their parents or something, it scarred me. No YouTube
terrible.
for my kids at all.
It's like a minefield that you have to run through. And I remember going to pick up my son from my mom's house when we were in New York, and she was letting him watch YouTube, and it was like Mario and someone, but they were dressed up. It was adults. My mom thought it was like a kids thing.
Oh yeah.
It wasn't incredibly naughty, but it was just not appropriate.
I've seen those.
Bizarre.
Bizarre. It was bizarre. Like, no, Mom. No, not. You know, like they're from the generation, you know, my mom can remember getting her first TV. The TV was not like the encyclopedic authority of the center of the room, where everyone sat down and watched one channel, you know, or a few channels. And, you know, we were kind of raised sort of on TV. I only had like 7 channels, but no one ever saw it as a nefarious thing. My dad did when I was older, like in high school, maybe middle school, sat me down. He told me about how you got to watch both news channels like NBC and Fox, because you know, he understood that there was 2 different universes happening, but you know, that splintered into many universes with the internet.
And, you know, and not necessarily to attack CNN, because even though they do deserve a lot of it, but with CNN making the first 24-hour news network, I think that's what opened it up. Because before it was, you know, you sit around this, and I'll use, you know, a phrase from my favorite band, Incubus. You sat around the idiot box and you kind of watched the few channels that were available, and you kind of took, whether it was Ted Koppel, Dan Rather, giving you the news. And could you imagine right now, if that was the same way, we would all be sitting on ABC watching friggin', what was it, George Stephanopoulos, whatever the hell his name is, that does like ABC World News Tonight. That guy would be the authority. A former Clinton aide would be the authority on everything. But so there is, there's certainly good and bad that has come with it.
There's lots of good and bad. And it's like anything throughout time, we're always going to have advancements that you're going to have to learn to live with. You can't get rid of it, because we are always kind of progressing ourselves out of existence while also progressing ourselves into the future, as we should, but we need to recognize it. And then, like, shout out to Incubus. That is a great band. And then going back to what you're saying about, you know, 24-hour stuff, it's really a human problem. It's just, it's modern now because we have the technology. But, you know, when I was writing the book around the Civil War stuff and the gold, you know, there's those stories of people picnicking on the sides of battles.
Yeah, Bull Run.
We're always like that. We're always kind of fucked up. You know?
And also, one of the things that I always hate is when people are like, oh, everyone's just on their cell phones now. And it's like, okay, but you were all on magazines or newspapers before, or no one has ever wanted to talk to their neighbor. That has always been a fallacy. We've all kind of fucking hated each other. Like, the communities were better back in the day because like you wanted to like know your community was safe. But if you were out in public, you didn't want to look at that guy and have a conversation. You would do everything else to not, you know. So I think it's like a big myth where it's like, oh, we're all so much worse on the cell phones. No, it's just our next thing, right? It's our next way to avoid human contact and feel connected to something else, right? That's
true. And that might be like we might be at the end. Like, I'm not sure where it goes next. I guess Neuralink,
the transhumanism stuff is coming.
Exactly. You know, that stuff is scary to me. And I'm borderline Luddite. Like, I joke with my wife, like, I think, you know, in a few months I'll be Amish. You know, I'm done. Like,
I said this to my friends before.
The next time we podcast, it's going to be through a paper cup and a string.
Get some chickens. You're really you're taking Tim to heart here. Get some chickens, move out by the river, and go to Freedomistan.
But watching people not leave the house anymore is a problem. You know, that might be one of the bigger problems with this whole situation. You know, there's a kid who lives near us, and he can't even be outside without being on his tablet. He's young, you know, and he's watching crazy stuff on YouTube. Stuff, you know, he's older than my son by a few years, but, you know, even when my son's that age, he's not watching that stuff. You know, and I'm very sad because I just don't know how people are going to live in the real world anymore. I think people care more about their identities in the digital space more than they do in the physical world, which is going to be a huge problem.
Yes.
You know, even when I was teaching, it was really hard to get kids to open up in a classroom and talk and read aloud and just be a human being, because they're so invested in their phones, which is fine. I don't want to be the crank being like, you're on your phone too much. I'm on my phone too much. You know, it's obviously a problem, but like, I also recognize the beauty in the world, and they might say they do too, but it's coming through the prism of their phone where everything matters more. And that just, you know, I want my kids to be way outside of the matrix growing up, you know, which is why not having a TV helps. You know, we spend a lot of time outside. We just do like old stuff. Today, my son and I just spent 2 hours with giant bouncy balls in a parking lot, you know, and just bouncing balls. Like, it was incredible. It was incredible. And that to me is beautiful. You know, he's running around, we're laughing. He's got weird questions. We're looking at clouds and just remembering how beautiful like life is. And, you know, we're getting ready for just a nice dinner instead of, you know, the way it feels if you let the kids just sit at home and watch a movie because you want the iPad to be the parent, which it happens. We do it too. I'm not talking shit.
There are times where you got to get something done, and it's like, go watch Bluey. Leave me alone.
Right. Exactly. You know, and it's that's why it's also great. It's just we got to figure out how to navigate it better.
We certainly do.
And I do want to say, like, the whole thing, both with the intermix of the internet and like the parenting aspect, is I think the internet really showed something about humans where, like, you know, we have all of the knowledge and information possible on the internet, basically all of it. But we still like to get into our own silos. We still like to be as tribal as possible, really. I mean, seems to be just a natural split that we do. And I feel like that also shows in how people get stuck into their phones, because you can find your group on that phone very easily. You don't need to find a group anywhere else. You'd have it right there. Why would you ever try to look for it in the real world if you know it's that difficult when it's right here, man? Like, I could just talk to whoever I want. I could have fun right on my phone.
Meanwhile, I'm looking for the people that hate me.
That's true.
I'm out here like, who can I get in an argument with now? But it's good for that. You can do that. You can retreat into your place where you can talk to your friends and talk shit. You know, there's so many cool things about it. For me, I think Twitter is fun just to see people react in real time. It's this weird. It's almost like a performative art where people are.
It's all performative.
It's all performative. You know, sometimes people try to take themselves too serious, or they do take themselves too seriously.
It's not what Twitter is for.
It's great to share things. It's great to it's like a sounding board where you can just drop like this rock in the well and wait and see what happens.
Watch the ripples.
You know, and there could be ripples, but I love YouTube for me is really fun just because I love music so much. So, you know, my kid, you have a question about music. He's obsessed with music, and he's obsessed with scores. Something that I was
nice.
That's awesome.
This kid's ridiculous, man.
But you could take him to a concert via YouTube.
Right. Exactly. Dope. And then through that, we can then talk about, you know, all the instruments, and he wants to learn instruments. And today we were listening to a score and there was one song on it that had singing. He was like, nah, turn that off. I don't like singing. And I'm like the opposite. I'm like, I want rap or metal. You know, he's like, he's gonna be better than me.
Gotta bring him John Williams, man. That's our greatest American, that's our great composer right now. And the one that did Pirates of the Caribbean, I don't think that was John Williams. It was he's the other. Those are guys that are gonna go down as our Hans Zimmer. They're gonna be like our Beethoven in our box because they're so
Johnny
fantastic.
Johnny Greenwood from Radiohead, his scores are great. You know,
yes.
It's funny. His love of scores has made me fall in love with scores now.
That's awesome.
So it's been really interesting. But yeah, that's the beautiful thing about the internet is like he can have a crazy question that I don't have the answer to, and instead of lying to him, I'll be like, all right, later, you know, after dinner, if you eat well, we'll sit down. And I'll use it as a reward.
I love the parent bribery for rewards, but just to get them to do things, you got to do it. They're not going to do it unless you do that.
If you want to see how lava melts glass, eat that dinner, and then we'll talk. Yeah,
that's exactly how it works. And you know, and I think it's unfortunate too because I hear, you know, I'm in a lot of the conservative like podcasting space. Like I'll listen to it. Like right now, I'm taking a break. I'm reading a book that, thanks to James Lindsay, A New Discourse, is a 26-hour audiobook, and I kind of hate him for it. The World Turned Upside Down. It's about the Chinese Cultural Revolution, and it's ridiculously terrible. It's so fucked up. But
one of the worst times in human history.
I argue right now, looking at it, might be actually the worst. It really might be. But I digress from that. But I feel like part of the problem is, you know, Dave, you and your friend group went outside. Shane, I'm pretty sure your friend group went outside, did a bunch of sports and did something. You know what we all did too? We beat the shit out of each other. You fight your friends more than you will fight any stranger. Fist fights and everything. That's not happening anymore. And I think we're seeing that with how soft this generation is. And I feel like this generation's a little more turning it around because, Shane, people, I don't know how close to age we are. I'm 35. So it's 37. Like, yeah, there you go. So we're similar age. So we're kind of in that generation that did experience that. And I don't think we're as scared because we grew up with, you know, we were the start of the internet. We understand. We freaking survived AOL chat rooms and age sex education, okay? Pretending that you're some 30-year-old to try and get some boobs. Like that's what we did on those things, right?
Right.
So we survived those, but we were still the generation that went outside, that fought our friends. And
I mean,
a bunch of this group isn't doing it. They're not tough. They don't bleed.
So true.
Like
I talking about music again, you know, I was in a death metal band for about 10 years.
Nice.
You know, we played crazy shows and you know, and before that, you know, from like the ages of 13 to 3 years ago, going to really crazy hardcore punk rock shows, metal shows. And I forget what I was watching recently. I forget what it was, maybe Converge or something, some crazy band. And it was Dillinger Escape Plan. And I was just like, oh, I miss I miss being afraid of the audience and the band, right? And that I literally broke bones at shows, either as the singer of a band or in the audience. At a Dillinger show, I broke a knee at a Dillinger show. A guy fell off the balcony 10, 15 feet above me and broke my knee during 43% Burnt. And then I chilled in the back with the band and it was like, yeah, my knee's fucked up. But that was an awesome show. Like, I love that stuff. And I grew up on a farm. I got kicked by horses. I got bit by horses. I had my fingernails bit off. My dad's got all fake teeth because he got kicked in the face by horses. Ooh. My mom's got shattered femur. My sisters are fucked up from horses. We got in the fights with horses.
Yeah. And so you win that battle with fights. I only fought humans.
Oh, dude, you got to fight horses. But no, it was good. Like, and I remember that fear of getting into fights with friends or people at school. You did some fucked up shit, and they're like the cliche, after school at your locker, that shit happened to me. The flagpole, and it taught you how to deal with like intense stress and also be like, there's no way out of it, so I'm just going to go through, and I would do the best I can, and you might not win. But that's okay,
But there was also a respect factor there. There wasn't, because, when you actually fought the bully and punched the bully in the mouth, the bully's probably might talk some shit, but probably won't challenge you again. Bullies don't like getting hit. And there's a respect factor there. Like, I've made some of my best friends because I fought them. And there was kind of like I know if shit hits the fan, I know you're down to fight. So we're cool. Like, it's just, I don't know if that happens because now it's all, I roll with the gang. If you beat me, I'm coming back and jumping you. It's not the respect of, no, you were willing to swing back at me and now we're cool, because like it's such a different, and also bullying doesn't stop anymore.
What was happening?
Another factor.
When my wife and I were still, we lived a very short time in Brooklyn, New York, and we're both from like the same area in New York, but like in the country, like in north of the city.
I'm up in Poughkeepsie, so you might not be too far away from where I'm
in Poughkeepsie.
I'm in Poughkeepsie right now.
Oh, I broke my knee at the Chance Theater.
Oh, I love the Chance.
That's hilarious.
That's
great. I used to play there all the time.
Oh, so nice.
I grew up in Highland Falls, which is just south of
right across the bridge.
My wife is from like the Cold Spring area.
Okay, I know exactly where that is. Yeah.
I managed a tattoo shop in Wappingers Falls for like 5 years.
Graceland. Which one? Which one
Graceland.
Was it? Oh yeah, I drive by Graceland all the time over off Main Street.
The owner, Adam's one of my best friends. So That's like my hood. That's my
small world there, man.
That's so bizarre. But yeah, so that's so funny. But growing up in that area, I forgot what I was saying, but like beating people up, it happened all the time. My wife, we went to high school together. We would just I saw her get into fights. She's a little younger than me. I'd get into fights, but you would learn to just take it on the chin. And freshman year of high school was always like I remember being the craziest because you're all just trying to figure each other out. You're about to fight. You will fight. I had most of my fights in freshman year of high school. And then, like you said, once you fought, we're all going to take on the world now. We're a small town.
Freshman year is tough because you go from being like top dog in 8th grade, you're at the king of the world, and all of a sudden you're back to being the shrimp, and they're these 18-year-old giant ass men, and you're just like, well, okay. Now what?
I remember where I was going with that is when we moved to Brooklyn, this thing was happening. This is probably before my son was born. So maybe 7 or 8 years ago. Yeah. There was this thing where kids were pushing older people into the street, in front of cars. Wow. So it's like they weren't turning on each other, doing like weird shit. We used to pass each other out with the breathing thing and the arm around the throat, or just punching each other, starting fires.
I would do lanyards to the nuts with the keys, walking by them. That was always a good one.
These are classics, for the friends. But it, like, this thing we were watching happening in the city was actually getting crazy because it was happening in front of trains or subways, in intersections in Manhattan, where they were just going up to people and like shoving them in front of traffic.
Jesus,
and it's not probably unique to just 7 years ago, but I remember thinking like, damn, these kids aren't like, they're bullying the old, That's fucked up. That's superiorly fucked up shit. So I remember being just really sad for younger people then. And, that might just have been a fad for that point. There was reports saying it was gang initiation shit going on. And, who knows? I don't know what it was or whatever happened with any of that. But there's similar things like that happening still. That made me think of that guy shooting the homeless man on the street. That video that went viral. It's like, What
I
the
did not
fuck?
watch.
Oh,
You know,
man.
I see all this stuff, and
I see these
just wanna
videos
go,
and I don't watch them. I just
and I also
roll
I
by.
want to
You'd be
go
better
back.
off.
I want to go back to clowns randomly walking around with knives. Like, can we get
That
that
was-
back? That was crazy, but at
Was it
least better
2015,
than what I
2016?
don't know what that was. It happened for like 6 months, and then it went away. It was the most
Simpler
bizarre.
times.
Yeah, actually.
So
Seriously.
simple.
Simple. Stop beating up old people. Just have a clown scare you with the friggin' machete, and that's it. That was fun. I don't think they actually ever stabbed anyone. They just scared the shit out of everyone.
Make America clown again.
Yes, I'm
Yes.
here for that. Honestly, we're already in clown world, but
True.
so as we raise our kids, Shane, David, when you eventually settle down and have children, do you think that our generation that still has a little bit of backbone, that still did get into fights, that did all this stuff? Because you know what? I tell all the baby boomers and old people, this is your fault because you raised a bunch of pansies that are now doing this stuff. Okay. And it's up to us to kind of raise the next generation. Like these soft wokeists, millennials in this generation sucks because our parents' age people raised a bunch of kids that suck. Like that's just how it works.
Mhm.
But it's like, so do you think that there's enough of us that are going to raise kids to, not be, think critically like a Marxist, but critical thinking?
Yeah.
Like, do you think that we're going to be able to get enough people back to that we can, and in enough time that we can kind of save what we are?
I'll steal one of Tim's talking points. He brings this up a lot where, a lot of people on the quote unquote left are not having kids. So
That is true.
stands to reason that we might just have the only kids, but of course they'll have kids or, so they'll grow them in some lab somewhere, but,
All in vitro kids.
yeah, and that's a whole other issue, but, it is scary because I think we will hopefully raise a large number of children who will see the future and the world around them in a way that we agree in, and not that we have to agree on everything, but
at least have a moral
like,
compass again, like a religious morals compass again,
yes.
like that.
Oh God, I think it's happening. I do have hope and faith in that. But the kids that are going to inherit the future in due time, the division between them will be worse than what we're seeing between us and the people we consider different than us.
Yeah.
And they're going to be almost like different species. Like when I see my kid interacting with that other kid I was telling you about with the iPad all the time on the outside, they might as well be different species. They have no way of interacting. My kid he's weird. I know he's weird. He's like scores, he does karate and he does all the different soccer and stuff, but he's into weird shit because at home he's not allowed to do all the same things and be plugged in as much as all the other kids. So when they meet in the real world, they have completely different reference points. So, in a way, it's like I feel bad because I'm almost doing to him what happened to me I didn't have internet until I was in college. I only had a few channels growing up and I lived on a farm in the middle of nowhere. When I went to school, my kids, my friends had all these things that they movies they'd know about, music. I was good with music, but to a degree, I pretty much got it off the radio, and, so, but I kind of like that, I like that even to this day, someone would be like, have you heard of this? And I'd be like, I never heard of that. And I'd be like, that's like the best thing ever. I'm like, oh, I'll check it out.
Do you have a fear that he might start going over friends' houses and they're going to have this stuff on and then all of a sudden he's going to really want it? And, is there like a contingency plan with you and your wife? Like maybe at some point we're going to have to bend a little bit and give him certain privileges like that. Like,
I think you have to raise your children in a way where they're, of course, going to meet these things that you don't like. And you have to hopefully set them up in the world where they can meet it and have that immune system I was talking about that'll defeat it. It's inevitable. I think the people who try to shield their parents from everything are bad because it's just, you can't go outside anymore without being attacked, I'm putting in air quotes, by you name the issue because they're everywhere. These ideas are everywhere. So, right. Yeah. But then also words are violence, so it's again, all these things just keep canceling each other out. So we're pretty much in an area where like everyone for the most part is raising kids in a way we kind of agree with. So like, we don't have to worry too much yet, but this is the time where we're building that immune system and we're pretty confident in that. And, there's certain people we know if he wants to hang out, he's just not allowed to go in the house, and I'll be strict as fuck with that. Like, because, he could see some stuff and he's still young. And some things are so ridiculous and absurd on TV. We went to visit, my wife's uncle. He lives, kind of just south of you, where you're at, Alex. Yeah. And, a commercial came on and it was for RuPaul Drag Race for like teenagers. I'm just like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm like, this commercial is just inappropriate. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, call me a Puritan. That shit is bizarre. I don't want it around my kid. But so far, I feel like we're doing all right. You know, we've made religion important to our children, something that wasn't important to me until the last, maybe 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
It's something I grew up with, then rejected, like outright, and then kind of drifted back and more than drifted. I was thrown back in. And then, like one good example of that is my son hanging out with one of these kids in the neighborhood who will openly just talk about like hating God and stuff. Sounds like me when I was 13, And my son came home and wanted to pray before dinner, and he wanted to pray for that kid for his belief in God one day. I was like, all right,
something's working, something's clicking. Yeah, that's cool.
He's only 7, so this could go downhill.
Yeah.
But even if you go downhill, even if you lose your faith, which is kind of like the way the trajectory of a lot of us.
That's called going through puberty, right?
Right. It's going to happen. But even if you go that route, you will have the moral center in you. Mm-hmm. So it's like, even you can call yourself an atheist like I did, but I was still operating with morality that I learned going, to church growing up and like talking to people who believe in God. And I grew up in a very in a neighborhood where there was a bunch of different types of religions, but and even though we disagreed on stuff, we all had the same type of moral code. So no matter how atheist I might have considered myself, I was still operating from a place of faith, whether I liked it or not.
I like to blow atheist minds and agnostics minds where I'm like, hey, guess what? You might not be religious. We're a Judeo-Christian nation. Our laws are based off the 10 Commandments, baby. So you're living some sort of religion here, so enjoy it. So
it.
Exactly. I actually do want to harken back real quick to like the parenting aspect and just kids in general, because you guys brought up fighting when we were younger, and I still did some of that. We went out and played sports, we fought, whatever. But what seems to be the issue here, and I'm not trying to sound deep or anything like that, I just like talking nonsense.
Philosophizing.
Nice.
So it really came from like a physical conflict aspect, because what it really is like you need conflict in your life in order to understand how to get over it and how to face it.
Jordan Peterson, be dangerous, right?
Yeah. But so it seemed to go really from where it's mainly physical conflict that kids encountered to now it's more of mental conflict. And when you're at that age, when you're at certain ages, I mean, even when you're 18, honestly, your mind's not ready for a lot of things. Right. Like you're just not ready to cope with all that and understand it and really think about it. So I just feel like that's really what's gotten into a lot of kids is that they drifted away from a lot of the physical conflict that they might have encountered. And it actually just basically got replaced by a lot of mental conflict, whether it is like, cyberbullying or any of that, because that's not physical, but it is always on your mental. Like it's always there and it's always something that you're thinking about. So I think that's actually what's kind of worsened it for a lot of people, because there's no way for them to understand it. And a lot of parents have no way to help their kids understand it because they didn't have to go through it.
And now they're being taught to all be activists and worry about all those types of things. So that also, you're onto something there, Dave. 100%.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's easier for them. When you encounter a lot of these people on the so-called left who are, hate you for everything you are.
They're leftists. There's a difference between leftist and someone on the left, right?
Yeah.
The blurred line now.
These days I don't know anymore because it should.
Well, here's the thing. I consider Tim on the left. I consider James Lindsay on the left. They're not leftists, but they're still left of center in a lot of their beliefs.
That's why I always put it in air quotes, because I want to find better words now, because it's so fractured, because people look at Tim or James and think they're like far right, alt right type people.
They're just free speech guys on the left. But that's all they are.
But it's a problem for the left moving so far left and also mainstreaming it. And that's the issue. So but the way the cyberbullying, I mean, we got to learn to deal with it, because bullying is going to happen no matter what. But it's crippling. And when you're a kid and you're getting inundated with cyberbullying, I mean,
you deal with it.
It will affect your actual physical world, because you can't. It's inescapable.
But that also comes down, I think, to good parenting there too, because you should know what's going on in your kid's phone up until the point, until maybe 16. You know that you've given them a good foundation. Now they're adults. They're they're getting a little bit older. Okay, they can start driving soon. Fine. that's a different scenario. You'll get a lot of responsibility, but there are so many ways out there now that you can sync up and mirror a phone onto yours and as a parent, and you can know everything that's going on your kid's phone. So it's like there almost is no, like a lot of parents are like, oh, I didn't know. Well, in this day and age, I think you just gave your kid a little too much latitude. And, you know, it's tough to tell people how to parent, right? Because there's no right way. There's certainly wrong ways, but there is no one right way. So, and, you know, and that it's difficult. It really is.
Every kid is so different.
Yes.
There's no one answer, but you definitely have to be more involved. I mean, there's so many parents that are so many parents who we'll call them leftists mostly because I know them where we're at now, that they want the iPad and or the government to be the step-in parent, you know, and that's a huge problem. The public schools are disgusting. They're no good. They're teaching terrible things.
We got to fight them from the inside. Go win and change them. I'm paying for them, so I want to change them.
Yeah, you have to. I mean, they're very bad, and your kid will come home with some bad ideas. But there's lots of parents who like those ideas now. Yeah. So you know, you're fighting the school and you're fighting the parents, and that's what's going to be a problem. You know, I don't know. How do you guys feel about the whole national divorce thing?
It's stupid.
I don't like it.
That's kind of how I feel.
Here's my reason why it's stupid. Not because of the fact that, you know, whatever it is, but because the fact people on the right are dumb. We're dumb because we are free speech. We're accepting. And what will happen is we'll come into these two nations. There'll be no civil war because we won't do that. But the left will start to cripple itself. The right will flourish. And then these people on the left will start to crawl back in and say, well, I need a place. And you know what? The people on the right, the hard ass ones, we're not going to let them in now. That's not going to happen. We'll let them all in. It'll be like Texas. It'll be like Georgia. It'll be like Florida, where all these leftists then come down and then they're going to start to vote. And it will basically become the same thing.
Yep. That's how I feel. Like I flirted with that idea years ago when I was thinking there is no way out of this situation. The cities, after having lived in the Hudson Valley, where it's kind of a mix here and there, but
Dutchess County is pretty red, but then you go over, but there's parts of like New Paltz is very blue. Like,
you know, and like, but then the city was insane. And then having lived there, it was just despotic. I was like, okay, how do these people, I remember, actually, I think I was talking with Tim about it on IRL. He was saying, you know, we were talking about national divorce, I think maybe in that first episode I was on in October of 2021. And I was like, well, the thing is, most of New York is kind of red. It's just the city that's extremely blue.
Albany, Syracuse, Buffalo, New York City. Like outside of that, it's pretty red.
Exactly. So you can't really divorce. You can't take out the city, the state. Like, how's it going to work? And then I started thinking, you know, how do military bases work? You're just going to forfeit the coasts. None of this makes sense to me. You know, I love this country. You know, and I like it how it is. I don't want to break it up, but there's people, I see them now talking about it because they're saying it's unavoidable. And I'm just like, we got to find a way out of that situation.
See, the thing is, it's guys like, you know, you, who's a journalist, who's interested in things that's, you know, you write about your stuff, but you're willing to write about these things. I think it's shows like this, who's willing to have these conversations. And it's people like Tim, like James, like a lot of these people that are going out there and at least trying to seek the truth, whether they're right or not. Again, yes, we're all trying to entertain a little, right? But we're also curious. So I feel like it's things like this that can prevent it, because I don't hate the people on the left. I hate their ideology. I don't think Marxism is good. You know, it's killed millions everywhere it's been, and whether they know it or not, they're Marxists, and that's what they're following. And, you know, and it's difficult, and I wish that we could educate them, and that goes into a long, you know, we could do a whole other podcast about how education is actually failing. So, but you know, it's a really tough subject, and you know, I don't want to keep you here for 9 hours, Shane. So I actually really appreciate you jumping on. This was such a fun show. Before we go though, I have to ask, what was it like being in the limelight and being the star of Only Ever Wanted in that music video, you and your wife there? I actually really enjoyed the song. I thought the music video was cool. What was that like doing that video?
Nerve-wracking. I hate being in front of cameras. I remember Tim called me probably like almost a year ago now, and he was just like, he gets like these ideas, and then it's just, there's no saying no, you know, and he's like super into it. And I'm like, yo, like, I hate being in front of cameras. I'm hinting like, maybe I'm not the guy, without saying as much. But he was like, it's going to be great. You know, we're going to do it. You're going to do this, da, 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 da. And then nothing. Like, we didn't hear shit. And I remember telling Nancy, I was like, okay, I think we're gonna do this. And she's like, all right. She's done a little bit of acting. I did a little bit of acting, like background acting for money when I was super poor. I hated that shit. But it came around, and Kent directed that. Kent does a lot of like the Chicken City drawings and stuff.
Yeah.
Kent's a genius, and it was really cool. It was in one of these old houses, and just Kent's girlfriend and me and my wife. And it was super low key, which is great. I felt more comfortable then because I just something about being in front of camera. Just like I'm like one of those like old tribesmen that's never seen modernity, and like it's going to capture my soul. But Kent did a great job, and that song is dope. And
it looked really good. The video looked great.
Kent did a great job. He made me look pretty all right. I mean, I have a caveman forehead. So I knew I was like, I told him, I was like, how long until someone says I have the caveman forehead? And people started sharing the caveman, from Geico.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, they did it
everywhere I go.
But shit, it was crazy. I knew it would get a lot of views because, Tim's got a huge audience. So it was fun to watch that. He was proud of it, and it was really cool. So it was fun. It was bizarre. And I kind of hope it never happens again.
No, they need to do another rockish song like that. I see that genre. No, but I want you back in it. Like, you need to be in every single rock video like that. That's where I'm at. But again, Shane, thank you so much for coming on. This was a blast, man.
Yeah, you guys are great. I appreciate it.
Awesome. Once again, he is Shane Cashman. He is the author of a whole slew of books. He has The Inverted World Volume 2 coming out. You heard a little bit about that. He's also a writer for Timcast News. We're hoping his next piece does not get taken down. But I would love the controversy to come back because I feel like you're handling it great. You're taking it head on. You're not shying away from it. I've seen you doing a whole bunch of other podcasts and talking about it. And, you're a person that likes free speech and transparency. And unlike a politician, you're living it and doing it. So I appreciate that.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Dave, anything else before we roll out?
No. I very much enjoyed this conversation. It was a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Yeah, this was really good. Once again, everyone like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars. Spread this word of mouth. Find us on the socials. Go search for it. We'll be back next week. So long, everyone.